So in this exploration of building a Hotwire enhanced ColdFusion application, I wanted to look at creating, persisting a site-wide banner. Site-wide banner is usually used to show some sort of application state or provide some sort of call to action. And in this case, it's going to show us a confirmation message when we upgrade. And right now, this is just a vanilla ColdFusion site. If we look at the network activity, you'll see that I'm doing full page refreshes every time I go to a new page. Now in the upgrade page, I'm going to upgrade, and we'll see here that I post to upgrade, and it is returning with a 302 found redirect, which just redirects me back to the index page. And if we look at the index page response, what you'll see down here is that I'm displaying this banner across the top of the site. And in fact, if we go to some of the other pages, you'll see that this banner persists across the site. But because this is just a vanilla ColdFusion app at this time, every time we render the full page, you'll be able to see that down here there is a banner being displayed across the top. And we can even close this banner. So if we close it here, you'll see that we're posting over to banner with a clear banner equals true. That is going to redirect back to the home page as well after it clears that banner state. And again, this is all just vanilla ColdFusion at this time. So now what we want to do is progressively enhance this using Hotwire. So let's come into our page and add our script back into our template here. And let's just show that everything's working. So now if we refresh, what you'll notice in the network activity is that as I jump around, we're no longer doing full page refreshes. These are all being executed via fetch from the turbo drive portion of the Hotwire framework. And let's do our upgrade at this time. So now we upgrade. You'll see that we get our banner across the top, and this banner will continue to persist as we navigate around the application. And again, we're doing these fetch-based content fetches. And we can close this banner, and again, we can move around here, and that banner remains closed. So let's take a look at how the code works behind the scenes. So as we saw earlier, we always want to be thinking in terms of progressive enhancement. How do we get something to work as a vanilla ColdFusion context and then add or sprinkle in some Hotwire enhancements? And what we're going to start with is taking our banner content, which I'm executing here as a ColdFusion custom tag, and we're going to wrap that inside of a turbo frame. And that turbo frame has a source, which means that when the page loads, Turbo Drive is going to fetch this content from the server and render it into the form. However, until that fetch happens, we can render the static version of the banner, which is rendered by ColdFusion. And in fact, what we'll see if I clear this and we refresh the page, you'll see that Turbo Drive here is making that request to banner. And if we look at the response, you can see that it is rendering a turbo frame that has no content inside of it. And if we go to upgrade, and let's upgrade, and we're back on the home page, if we now refresh, what you'll see is that both the main ColdFusion response has the banner, it is inside this turbo frame, and then once Hotwire kicks in, it will make a subsequent request for this banner HTM, which we're seeing here, which will then also provide that turbo frame with the embedded banner content. Now, when we think about progressive enhancement with Hotwire, what it often requires us to do is think of this dual action on a page. Not only are we handling the ColdFusion response, but we're handling the Turbo Drive response as well, which means that we often have some sort of branch and control flow. And we will see that in our code as well. So if we look at the banner page, which is what is getting requested by Turbo here, but it's also acting as our close target, right? If we hit close, we're also hitting banner with the clear banner flag. What we want to know is how do we render and then how do we clear? So if we look at the banner page, again, we have to think about this in terms of branching logic based on whether or not we're in a Hotwire context. So if the clear banner flag has been passed in, we reset the application state. Then we check to see if we're inside or outside a turbo frame context. If we are inside of a turbo frame context, which means that this was being requested on behalf of the Turbo Drive protocol, then in that case, we're just going to redirect to the home page because it's a ColdFusion response. However, if we are in a turbo frame context, we're going to skip over this and allow the turbo frame to render, which will give us either the content or the cleared content or empty content, in which case we will clear out the persisted banner on the top. So that's looking at clearing the banner. And let's look quickly at setting the banner. So if we jump into our upgrade page, this does a simple post back to the page. And again, we have to deal with that branching logic, meaning are we in a vanilla ColdFusion page or are we in a Hotwire enhanced page? Which means that if we're upgrading and setting the banner text here, we have to check to see if a turbo stream response is a viable option for us or if it's not. If it's not, meaning we're not in a Hotwire enhanced version of the page, let's just redirect the user back to the home page as per typical ColdFusion protocol. However, if we are in a Hotwire context and we can provide a turbo stream response, let's do that instead. And if we jump to this, we can see what our turbo stream response is telling us to do is perform 2 visit operations. One for the banner to refresh the content of the banner showing the new upgrade confirmation, and then one to revisit or to take the user over to the home page. And if we look at our network activity in the upgrade, we can see exactly that. We posted to upgrade, and we can see that the response here are our 2 streams, one to upgrade or to reload the banner, which we're seeing here, and that's where we get the now your upgrade has been processed, and we're also seeing the visit to the home page, which is what we're seeing here. And there you go. It's a lot to take in. Transitioning from thinking in terms of single page applications to thinking in terms of multi-page applications that are progressively enhanced it's quite a journey, but there is something very exciting about it. For example, I can command click and open this in a new tab, and you'll see that the banner worked there. And because this is persisted here, it will remain persistent until I refresh the page, but you'll see that the application state kicks in as soon as I refresh the page. So there is something deeply satisfying about that kind of stuff. And yeah, more to come.